Okay. You have no idea how many times I've tried to film this video. I filmed it once, I edited it, spent the whole weekend doing that, clicked one button to delete one extra little clip, whole thing went away. The whole project was gone. I didn't even give myself time to be upset. Got right back down, tried to film again, camera died. Then I tried to do it one more time. I was just all over the place. I didn't like what I was saying. You could tell I was like frustrated. So I stopped. Now I'm back a few days later trying to do it again. Hopefully for the last time. I could just like not do this video, but I really want to because it's an important topic. I've also gotten a lot of questions and I feel like I should just make one big YouTube video explaining everything. So that's what we're doing today. I'm gonna try to look here, not here, but yeah. As you can tell from the title of this video, we're going to be talking all about transferring. I'm going to talk about my transfer story, I'm going to talk about transferring tips, and I'm at UCF now, so I might talk a little bit about like some of the pros of UCF because I love it here. And if you're looking to come, then maybe this can help you. You don't have to be looking into UCF or looking into the school that I transferred from. If you're transferring at all, if you're making any sort of change, I hope that I can be some sort of help to you. So I will give you the backstory first. My freshman year of college, I started at Sacred Heart University, which is a small private school in Connecticut. I lasted there from fall of 2021 to December 2021, and then I left because when you know, you know. Now I guess I'll talk about why I left Sacred Heart for anybody that also felt the same way there or feels the same way about their school or is looking into Sacred Heart. I do want to make a disclaimer and say I am in no way, shape, or form bashing the school. Obviously it's a great school. I don't regret my time there at all. I know a bunch of people who still go there and love it. You and me are not the same person, so my experience might be completely different than yours. So if you're looking into it, please do not let this sway you the opposite direction because you could love it. My biggest piece of advice is to just go with your gut. Whatever your gut is telling you, do that, because my gut was telling me to go somewhere else and I went to Sacred Heart and look what happened. So now that that's out of the way, let's get into the reasons, which I don't have written down anywhere. These are just some of the reasons that come to mind. One being that it was too small for me, even though I wanted that as a senior in high school. I was literally only applying to small private schools because I thought that's what I wanted, which wasn't actually what I wanted. And that is understandable because when you think about it, like, how do us seniors in high school know what we want out of college when we haven't experienced life at a small school? We haven't experienced life at a big school. So we're kind of just guessing, and there are plenty of people that guess and get it right and they love their schools. For me, that wasn't the case. Because it was so small, it felt a lot like high school. Coming into college, like as a senior in high school, I knew I did not want it to feel that way, which again is on me for picking such a small school because obviously it has a way higher chance of feeling like high school when it's tiny. Didn't think that through. It's so common to see people you know like everywhere. Another thing about that is that I got pretty bored of it quickly because it is so small. And this doesn't really have to do with the school, but like my professors called on people when their hands weren't raised. That brought me right back to high school, and the anxiety that comes with like not knowing when you're going to be called on is like terrifying. I don't know if that's just a small school thing. I feel like all those reasons fit under like the big reason that it was just too small. Next, I would say, not that this is a reason I left. Once this happened, it definitely pushed me a lot more towards my decision to transfer because, like I said, as a senior in high school, I was applying to all these small private schools, and I don't know if it's just by where I live. I'm from New York, if I didn't say that already, but like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, like Pennsylvania, all those schools, the small ones, it wasn't common for them to have the major that I wanted to start at that time, which was communication science and disorders. A bunch of schools did not have that major, which made my search very limited. Once I started taking classes for that, I quickly realized that I could not deal with as much science as I would have been dealing with if I had stayed in that major for the rest of my time there. I don't know why I thought that like I liked science. Once I realized that I wasn't gonna stay as a speech pathology major, I switched over to communications. Now, at this point in time, I'm an advertising public relations major, and the reason for that is because all my life I've always been a very like creative person digitally, not with like tangible stuff. Like, I can't do arts and crafts. I don't have the patience for that. But I love taking pictures. I love editing. Like, I'm so excited to sit down and edit this video, even though it's gonna take so long. Like, I'm so excited for that, and I have so much patience for stuff like that. I love just being digitally creative, and I was like thinking like what major would allow me to do that. I was searching up YouTube videos, and a bunch of people said advertising because there's a lot of different branches of it that you can go into. And the reason I'm advertising and public relations is because at UCF the two majors are linked, so I have to do both of them until I like make up my mind. Once I like changed my major to like the most basic one there is, I was like, my options are endless now. Like, I don't have to stay here, because one of the big reasons I went was because it was one of the few schools that had communication science and disorders. But now, like, now I'm free. Like, now I could go anywhere. So yeah. And then I would also say like the school spirit was a lot, it was not there. Like, coming into college, I didn't really even care about that, like the games and like the sports and stuff. I didn't realize till I got there how much I actually wanted it and missed having that. The first football game is really fun and everyone goes, and I think that first football game is what made me crave that feeling more often. Everyone goes, it's a whole event, like you feel it in the air. And then after the first football game, no one really cares anymore. I was like, damn, like I want to feel more game days like the first one, which is very possible if you go to a big school. Every game day feels like that. I was like, I want to have a school that feels more like I'm a part of a community and that there's like more pride in the school. I wasn't expecting not to feel that way because I picked such a small school to make sure that I like felt like I was a part of a community, and that ended up not being how it worked out, but that's okay. Next, I would say just the surrounding area. There was very little to do. A bunch of people on the weekends go to the frats or to bars like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That didn't satisfy me because I'm not a big partier, so I got bored of that really quickly. And I was constantly like wanting to do other things, but there was very limited options, especially in the winter. So that was something that I thought about too when I was like deciding to transfer. And then the last thing I'll say is like the meal plan. A lot of people won't understand what I'm saying unless you go. And I can't speak for it now because maybe they've changed it. Hopefully they have, because I know a lot of people used to complain about this as well. Yeah, the whole like meal plan situation really threw me off. You start with a certain amount of dining dollars and meal swipes. And the money from your dining dollars comes straight from like the credit card of whoever's like adding it for you. I would always go to this one dining hall that was right next to my dorm, which was Mother Teresa, by the way. If you're watching this and you go to Sacred Heart and you live in Mother Teresa, I loved it there so much. I could not have been more lucky with the freshman dorm that I got. So I would always go to that dining hall. Like, I would go during meal swipe hours, because during non-meal swipe hours, like, you couldn't get anything for a meal swipe unless you were at like the one dining hall that was like a buffet style thing. That was like the worst one there, in my opinion. So at the good dining halls that a lot of people went to, if you didn't go during like the specific hours they had for meal swipes, you had to pay dining dollars. And if you did go during the certain hours of meal swipes, let's take the sandwich station, they would make like the most plain sandwiches, the meal swipe options. Like, had like a bunch of them. Like, there were such good options, but all the good options were dining dollars, and they were like somewhere between like $10 to $13. I don't remember how much, and I don't want to say a price that's like way off, but I could tell you it was between $10 and $13, which is a lot. Food was expensive there, so you were spending like around that much for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if you were using your dining dollars, which goes like so fast, way faster than you would expect. The meal swipe options would be like ham sandwich, turkey sandwich, whatever. And even if you could find something on that that you liked for the meal swipe, if you switched out the bread, if you added one thing to it, forget the meal swipe. You gotta use dining dollars. Why? And I just felt like they could have been a lot more generous with that. So those are all of the reasons I can think of for why I left Sacred Heart. So now that we covered that, let's talk about tips for transferring if you are like in that position, which I have here on my phone. Number one, if you are like in the process of transferring, I know that it could feel lonely, and I know that you might feel behind if all your friends are at their schools and they're loving them and you now have to start fresh. I know that that's not the greatest feeling, but I'm here to tell you that it's so worth it. and that you're not alone. I feel like so many people transfer and it's such a popular thing, but like it's still somehow so isolating. At least that's how I felt, especially because I left Sacred Heart and I was home for the spring semester pretty much just, you know, with my parents, and none of my friends were home. I spent a bunch of time alone, which definitely played into that feeling of loneliness, but in the long run it was really good for me and it taught me a lot about myself. I had the chance to recharge, do my research on other schools that I wanted to transfer to, and make sure that the second time around I did it right and that I didn't make the same mistake I did the first time, which is perfect. Leads me into my first point. Let's say it's fall semester and you're at the school and you hate it and you know you want to leave, like you're 95% sure. I would say to not go back spring semester because you're wasting so much money if you know you're just gonna leave. I would say only do that though if you're super sure of it. It might be different if you're thinking of transferring because you don't have any friends, then like maybe wait it out, because making friends takes time obviously, so like stay your spring semester, see if you meet anyone. For me that wasn't the case. It was the school that I just did not like. I had my friends, I met lovely people there, but it was the school that I was just never going to be happy with. No amount of friends could change that. I knew I was transferring 100%, and so coming home wasn't hard, and I know it definitely could be, especially if you're someone who gets FOMO, but I feel like I didn't really experience that again because I was just so confident in my decision to transfer. I just knew I was on a different path than everyone else and I was okay with that. So seeing all my friends at their schools didn't really affect me because I knew that I was gonna have that. I just had to wait a little bit longer and just be patient and know that my time will come. Yeah, just be happy for everybody who, you know, picked a school and ended up liking it. So I got kind of off topic, but basically I would definitely recommend coming home for spring semester. Take that time to reflect on everything you didn't like and everything you want to change. And yeah, my next tip is to not let the fear of the transferring process scare you from actually going through with it. My experience with it was not bad at all. I can only speak for UCF because it's the only school I ended up applying to transfer to, but their transfer application was so simple. It was like the bare minimum. I was scared by like how little information they needed. I was like, are they going to be able to accept me based off of this? Well, I say it's worth it, and I would do it even if it's a lengthy process for the school that you're looking at. Do the work to make yourself happy is what I would say. Next thing, which is super important, apply as soon as possible. Even if you're thinking about transferring and you're at the school that you want to transfer from right now, even if you're not 100% sure, fill out some transfer applications because waiting is going to screw you over when you want to look for housing. It did for me. I actually applied in February of 2022, but UCF did not accept me until the end of June, and I was moving in the beginning of August. So there was quite literally no housing left for me around the school, in the school. I got lucky and I actually rushed at Sacred Heart, so the sorority that I got in is at UCF as well, and they had an open spot in the house, so I was able to live here, which I'm very, very lucky and grateful for. Apply, and the second you get your decision back and you want to go there, start looking for housing right away. Get ahead of the game and do that. This is the last thing I have written down, and that is once you finish the whole transferring process and you actually make it to your school, if it is not everything that you thought it would be right away, don't get nervous. Things really take time to get good, and I can tell you that from experience. Like when I first got here, I felt like a lost puppy. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know anybody. So many people here are from Florida and I'm from New York, so I definitely felt out of place in that way as well. But over time that feeling went away and now I feel so much better. I felt so alone in the beginning, now I don't feel that way anymore. Don't get down if everything doesn't go the way you want it to right away. That goes for literally everything, because good things take time. Be patient, don't rush anything. I apologize for the sudden change of scenery and quality. I promise I will make this quick, but I did want to add this because I feel like it's really important for people like me who are super sensitive and take things to heart. If you're scrolling on TikTok or Instagram and you open up the comments on a video about your school and there's something like, oh my god, this place was literally torture, like I hated it here, I'm so glad I left, do not let that get to you, especially if they don't provide the reasons why they felt that way. I know for me, when I was a senior in high school and when I came home to research for schools and I would see negative comments about them, I would really let it get to me and I would let it affect my perspective on that school. I feel like that's just so stupid. You just should never let people that comment really negative things about schools that you're looking into change your mind about the school. And you may be watching this thinking that's like common sense, like why would you let that affect you at all? But I did a lot. So if you are anything like me and you do as well, please don't anymore. I remember I was scrolling one day on TikTok and a video about UCF came up and I opened up the comments, and the first comment I saw, which I will put a picture of right here because I still have it, I screenshotted it. It was the top comment and it said, I don't know one person who goes here and likes it. And obviously me looking into the school, that was not very encouraging, and it definitely did not make me feel good to see that someone said that about the school that I was looking into. So yeah, those comments are not always the reality, and please, if you're gonna comment something like that, elaborate. Don't just drop a comment that negative and that dramatic and not state your why. It literally provides zero help to anybody. It only does harm. It does no good. So don't just leave a comment like that and dip, please. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Back to the video. I know imposter syndrome is a real thing, like especially for transfer students. I'm still getting over that feeling. I'll say this as a reminder for you and for me, if you're feeling this way. The school that you transfer to, whether you transferred as a sophomore, a junior, a senior, it is just as much your school as it is anybody who started as a freshman. So those are all my general tips. Now for like UCF specific stuff, I'll start with like my stats, even though I'm not going to give you my exact stats. I don't remember them, but I will tell you like a little bit about what I did in high school so that if you did something similar, you can kind of like gain comfort in knowing that I got in. I was a pretty average student in high school. I had mostly A's. I didn't take a lot of AP classes. Over my 4 years in high school, I only took one AP. I had like 2 or 3 honors classes. Not a lot. I was a very average student. I did my work. The thing about my extracurriculars is that I had a small amount, but they were extracurriculars that I had like stuck with. So instead of having like a whole bunch of different ones, like new things that I tried every year, I had a few that I went all the way with. So I think that kind of helped. Yeah, if you are at all similar to me, don't be scared. Even if you're not, I'm sure you'll get in. So now I'm going to talk just a little bit about UCF. I don't have any notes written down for this, but I will say that the biggest thing holding me back from coming here was the size of it. I'm pretty sure this is the biggest school in the country with almost 70,000 kids. So I was like, no way, I'm not going there. Like, I'm gonna feel so, you know, like not even a part of anything because it's so big. But I could not have been more wrong. Like I was saying way earlier in the video, I feel like I'm way more a part of a community here than I did at my small school with like 9,000 kids. I feel like it's that way because the people who go here have a lot of pride. They love the school and you like feel that, especially on game days for any sport. The football games especially, obviously, because that is the most popular sport that people show out for. But basketball too, baseball, all of the sports. So I am really, really happy that I came to a school that allowed me to feel that kind of school spirit. I have had such a better experience here class-wise too. My classes are big, but they don't feel as big as they are. I've been here for almost 1 full year. And I've had mostly classes with over 100 people. I do have a few classes with like 30 people, and both are great. I've had pretty good luck with professors and stuff, so I've been good in that aspect, which is something I was also scared coming into it. Senior in high school me would be so shocked to see that I ended up at like the biggest school in the country, because I would not even look at Buffalo, which is like a SUNY school in New York, because of the size, and UCF is like 3 times bigger than it, and I love it here. So I've changed, or maybe I just had like this false stigma about big schools. but they are not as scary as they seem. Also, a bunch of people wonder about like the size of the campus, and what I could say for that is that the campus is not overwhelming at all. It's a big giant circle. From one end of the circle to the other is a 30-minute walk, which is not bad at all. There's definitely harder and longer walks. Here it's pretty good though, and I don't have a car. I walk everywhere, so you can trust me when I say that. It's really not bad. It's not scary. I learned my way around pretty quickly, and if you come here, you will too. I feel like I've been talking for way too long, so I think I'm gonna wrap this up. The last thing I will say is if you're in the middle of the transferring process right now, or if you're at your new school and you're worried that you made the wrong decision, or you like it, or whatever, whoever you are, however you're feeling when you're watching this, just know that it's gonna turn out okay. Whatever is meant to happen will happen, and things take time, so just don't rush anything and don't compare your journey to anybody else's, because we're all different and there's not one set correct timeline to do things. You can do it on your own time and there's no judgment. So that's all I'll say about that. I'm sorry this video was so long, but I hope it helped someone somewhere gain a little bit of clarity, or just in any way. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and come back soon.